everyone everywhere on this globe, wherever you are. Very nice to meet you through this medium. And this is another one in the series on the spiritual, peaceful warrior. And today's topic is the bravery of the spiritual warrior. And as we had said before, the spiritual warrior has no enemies out there. The spiritual warrior recognizes that the only true enemy is in here. And one of the big enemies is fear. So how does the peaceful spiritual warrior prepares for this victory over fear? And what are the causes of fear for the spiritual warrior? Because the spiritual warrior approaches everything from a spiritual perspective. Now, spiritual knowledge tells us that we are souls, invisible, immortal, unearthly, divine beings. Beings, and I'm doing like this because one way to understand invisible, bodiless, spiritual is of light. And the image that we use is a tiny star operating from the center, operating this body from as if the center of the forehead. So the soul is this being of consciousness, this immortal, timeless, living light. And one of the enemies is fear. But fear is actually a result, one of the results of lack of spiritual understanding. When we remember and when we live in the consciousness, when we live with that awareness of being immortal, indestructible, innately divine, living lights, what is there to fear? But insecurities come when we start to get attached, and we start to feel something here is mine and I can own this and me, and we identify with things or with objects or with positions or with people or possession. And then fear comes in, then insecurity come in, because then we start to believe we can lose it. For the spiritual warrior, the soul who is awake to his own higher nature, to spiritual truth, feels he owns nothing in this physical world, even this body. The spiritual warrior has this body on loan. So the spiritual warrior, the soul who is awake, is so conscious, enjoys the variety of sceneries and interactions, but doesn't feel he needs anything or he wants anything or he owns anything. Therefore, he cannot lose anything. And if one feels he cannot lose anything, such peace. And when there is the awareness of being a bodiless being, timeless, indestructible, immortal, Another reason for fearlessness. And so the bravery and the fearlessness of the spiritual warrior and the peace comes from this awareness of this spiritual truth and the experience of the self as a timeless, indestructible, living light, the soul, who has an eternal connection with the Supreme, the Commander-in-Chief, God, the ever-knowledgeful one, the ever-peaceful one, the ever-loveful one. The spiritual warrior knows his eternal home and is connected in awareness to that home of light and silence and stillness, the soul world. It can emerge that experience. And so the training, the practice of the peaceful spiritual warrior is to again and again remind the self of this eternal truth, to emerge that experience of being a soul in the soul world and that companionship with God. God as the eternal friend. So let's take a few minutes. We take a few moments to deeply reflect and turn our attention away from the situations and the objects and the scenes of this material world and turn the attention to what is subtle and what is timeless. And become aware of the self as this spiritual, invisible being of consciousness, the soul. One who is a guest in this body, a guest on this planet, an unearthly, divine being of light, who operates this body as if from behind the eyes, the center of the forehead. And just take a few moments to take this all in. A being who is bodiless, made of light, made of peace, playful and joyful, indestructible, needs nothing from this world, doesn't own anything here, can't lose anything or anyone. Try and grasp that mind, free from fear. And this being of pure, peaceful serene light is eternally connected to the home of light, to the home of peace, the dimension beyond. The world of souls. The spiritual warrior is eternally connected to the supreme parent of all souls. Home, family, parent is all invisible and subtle, timeless, eternal home, eternal parent who is also like a friend, ever wise, ever loving, eternally free from fear. And just try and grasp this. Fearlessness and brave in a playful way, in a peaceful way. Nothing to fear. Because nothing to lose. Indestructible. And the game in the world of matter, the game of human life, is an extra game. The energy of curiosity and exploration and expansion is pleasant. Even when using the body and in interactions, in a variety of changing scenes and people in this game of life. But without fear. If one is aware of the spiritual truth. And so enjoy your experiments and your explorations with this consciousness and this mindset of the immortal, indestructible, free, spiritual warrior. Om Shanti. And until next time.